In this video, we are comparing the most popular and best audio interfaces available in the $200 to $300 price bracket. Now, there's a lot to get through in this video, so please feel free to skip forward to the sections relevant to you using the chapters below by hovering your cursor at the bottom of the video window. To keep this video short-ish, I've compiled a comparison chart of all the technical specifications and round-trip latencies for you to compare, available to download for free from my website edthorn.com, link in the description below. The RTLs were measured by creating a physical loopback with the device and the RTL utility app. Now, these readings may vary on your system, but you'll get an idea of how these devices compare. As you can see, the M2 is the fastest device and considerably outperforms the other three. It's a good start for the M2, but is it all downhill from here? Please note this video has not been sponsored by any of these brands. These are solely my user-based opinions. If you're considering purchasing one of these devices or any other home studio gear, using the links in the description below to the best deals online is a great way to support the channel if you've found value in this comparison. These are all very well-built interfaces, as you would expect for the price. There's not much of significance to compare here, in my opinion, and this part of the comparison basically comes down to whether you want easy accessibility to your inputs versus a tidy desktop. It should be noted that the headphone socket on the SSL is on the back. Why? This is a stupid design choice. The SSL2 and Volt 276 feature a 2-second and a 5-second, respectively, soft start when turning on the phantom power. This avoids pops through your speakers and headphones when turned on. To test the preamps, I recorded some acoustic guitar through my Austrian Audio OC818 condenser microphone. Thanks to my friend Tim Love for playing the guitar. Check out his YouTube channel for guitar tutorials and gear reviews. The M2 has a good all-round sound. The ID14 and Volt have a gentle low-end bump, again making them sound nice and full. And the SSL is kind of neutral, but nothing overly inspiring. Now, the SSL also features Legacy 4K mode, which is an analog enhancement circuit emulating SSL's legendary 4000 E-Series console preamps, imposing a high-frequency EQ boost with subtle harmonic distortion, to quote SSL. It has to be said L4K mode is very subtle, but maybe I needed to drive the preamp harder to emphasize this. The Volt similarly features Vintage mode, Universal Audio's own version of L4K mode, which serves to emulate their famous 610 preamps. This adds second and third harmonics to the mid-range, which I think delivers a forward presence and nicely compensates for the low-end bump. And Volt also features a built-in 76-style analog FET compressor, which is a first on any audio interface. Note this is not a DSP plug-in compressor, but an actual analog circuit. There are 3 settings to choose from with a fixed 6:1 ratio. These aren't necessarily settings I would use myself, but Universal Audio believe they're popular and they definitely know more about compressors than I do. Notice how the compression really evens out the overall signal for a smooth, consistent take, creating a well-rounded forward sound. This is a useful tool for quick productions. For more information on this compressor and vintage mode, watch my full review of the Volt audio interfaces here. Now, let's be honest, these sonic differences are very subtle and it's a matter of taste. For me, the additional features on the Volt and SSL combined with their sound put these in first and second place respectively. I have to put the Audient in third place because some may not like the coloration it introduces, and the M2 in fourth because I find it rather uninspiring. Let me know which you think sounds best in the comments below and why. Now, how do these preamps fare with the SM7b, I hear you ask? The following audio samples we're recording at about 80%, 90% gain with the volumes normalized in post-production. Head to headthorn.com for details about my remote drum track recording service. Head to headthorn.com for details about my remote drum track recording service. Head to headthorn.com for details about my remote drum track recording service. Head to headthorn.com for details about my remote drum track recording service. The SSL has plenty of headroom with 62 decibels of input gain, which will cover you for any recording circumstance. And I felt that gave me the widest, most open sound with my voice. The ID14 boasts 58 decibels of input gain with an additional 10 decibels of digital gain available in the ID monitor mixing app. In practice, I found this useful at lower gains, but at higher gains, it really exaggerates any preamp circuit noise, rendering it somewhat useless. The Volt just sounds good, end of. And the M2 is clear and neutral, but again, it lacks any personality for me. However, the neutrality will be desirable to a lot of people. When testing the direct line inputs, you would have thought these would sound the same, but watch this. That was my friend Dan Francis Owen playing. Check out his website for his session work and his YouTube channel for real-life professional gig advice and bass playing tutorials. I find the M2 quite middly, lacking low-end and sub-content. The Audient and Volt sound noticeably fuller, probably due to the slight bump in low-end EQ, but I feel they're both more defined in the top end as well. And the SSL is arguably the most neutral. The ID14 hosts the loudest headphone amplifier, producing the best output level for both low and high impedance headphones. The Volt is possibly the best sounding, but some may want more level for direct monitoring and more level for high impedance headphones. The SSL presents an acceptable volume, sounds fine, however the output is a bit low with high impedance headphones. Now the M2 is an interesting one. With low impedance headphone, it produces a low-mid presence, but with weak sub and low end content, and combined with a softened top end, this output just feels small. However, it's a very different story for high impedance headphones, where this headphone amplifier really comes into its own. It offers the best sound of the bunch and has plenty of headroom rivaling the Audient, so I'm not quite sure where to place this, so I'm going to put it in equal second place with Volt. The direct monitoring varies on these devices, but there's a clear winner here for me. The Audient ID14 monitor mixing app is really what sells me on the ID14, and enables you to mix your 2 inputs and up to 6 different individual DAW sends, such as a stereo drum bus, a bass channel, a guitar channel, a keys channel, and a click track, as you can see, all independently controllable so you can create the perfect monitor mix. This superior flexibility sits somewhere between regular audio interfaces and an Apollo Twin, and single-handedly sets this device above all the others, in my opinion. To find out more about this monitoring and a full comparison between the ID14 and the Universal Audio Apollo Twin, click the link to this video on screen now. The SSL features the best onboard direct monitoring, featuring a built-in input to USB blending dial to balance your input channels and stereo DAW send on the device, rather than having to adjust your DAW output on the computer to hear yourself like the Volt and M2. It should be noted that this affects both the monitor and headphone outputs. Great for headphones, but I find this a strange decision for the monitors, given most of us are going to be recording in the same room as the interface. Why would we want to introduce a live microphone into the monitor mix, potentially causing feedback? The Volt features mono, stereo, and off options on its direct monitoring, and combined with a good headphone output and input levels, monitor blending is easy. The M2 hosts off or stereo monitoring options only. Its low-level output with low impedance headphones doesn't give much headroom for loud mixers or performers, but it's a different story again with the high impedance headphones. But of course, I'd suggest using closed back headphones rather than open back, and a lot of high impedance headphones are for mastering and are open back, so go for closed back. This category comes down to whether you prefer function or sound. The ID14 has a high output, sending a good, clear sound, but it imposes some coloration. Although I don't necessarily like this compared to the Volt and SS2, which sound the best, the ID14 is the only device to feature mutable monitor and headphone outputs executed by pressing the scroll wheel. For me, this puts this device in first place. The SSL is louder than the Volt, so it sneaks into second place. Volt in third place, although these are both very good sounding interfaces. The M2 is definitely in fourth place here, with noticeably weak low-end content and a softened top end, similarly to the headphone output, making it feel small and flat in comparison to the others. In addition to the features we've already discussed, most of these interfaces host additional features worth mentioning, except the SSL2, lol. The Volt 276 is packaged with an additional mains power style USB cable to free up the USB port for iOS device recording. An iPad Pro will supply enough power to operate the device via USB-C cable, but this extra cable facilitates using all of the iOS tablets and smartphones which can't supply enough power on their own. Volt also features 16 channels of MIDI in and out. The M2 hosts 16 channels of MIDI I/O along with RCA outputs, I guess for DJ decks or passive speaker systems, but I find this a little redundant because I suspect most of us are using active speakers in our studios. The ID14 Mark II again takes the win for me here, offering input expandability with 8 channels of ADAT inputs. Great if you're a drummer like me or you want to record a band, for connecting a preamp expansion rack such as the ASP880 to create a 10-channel input recording device. The Audient hosts 2 additional outputs for a second set of speakers, reamping, or an additional headphone amplifier for which you can create an entirely independent mix to your main headphone output using the ID Monitor Mixing app. And it is this ID Monitor Mixing app that really sells the ID14. Remote monitor mixing is the way forward for me, and definitely a key selling point of the Apollo interfaces, albeit they're more expensive. For more information on how to use this app, check out my full review of this interface here. Also included with this device are 3 Produce Like a Pro Academy courses to help you start recording and mixing. If you don't know the Plapper YouTube channel or website, there is a wealth of information about recording, mixing, and equipment on those platforms. It is an invaluable asset for anyone with a home studio. Now, as I said earlier, this video has not been sponsored or paid for by any of these brands. These are solely my opinions based on the tests I did for this video. The M2 and SSL2 have a lot of die-hard fans out there who are no doubt commenting their criticisms on this video below, but I was glad to be able to feature them in this comparison. I was, however, somewhat underwhelmed by the M2. Besides its fast latency and sexy LCD display, I feel this device was the weakest across the board. It is, however, the cheapest, so there was some solace in that. But compared to the similarly priced ID14 Mark II with its impressive sound and array of features, it just doesn't compete. The SSL is an interesting device. It hosts the best onboard direct monitoring, and with impressive headphone amplifier and input gain, it's a very user-friendly interface. The analog-esque harmonic distortion and character of the preamps will appeal to some people, but for me, vintage mode on the Volt sounds better, and combined with the compressor and general high quality of sound on that interface across the board, I have to put the SSL in third place and the Volt in second, which leaves the Audient ID14 Mark II in first place. And considering it is one of the cheapest with the most features, ADAT expandability, the impressive monitor mixing app, the assignable ID button to enable you to do further things I haven't mentioned, and the muting options, this is the winner for me. Let me know which interface you think is best and why in the comments. Remember to download my specification comparison chart from edthorn.com. Check out the playlist here for more audio interface reviews and comparisons, and I'll see you on the next comparison.